As always, we would be remiss not to commence this by giving honor to whom honor is due, the Holy Blessed One of Israel, the consciousness of all sentient being. Again, may He aid you in making the ascension into the higher levels of consciousness where you will unfold the goal of creation. Mikia Toba, the Hashim Yisrak Shimon, Kol Kodashim Baal Malakudio, Nimi Barit, Akim Bev Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Ashilokim.
Shalom Mayo.
Gamli. Shalom. Yakusha. Again, we want to return to the book of Shemot. Chapter number 12. Our focus has again been on Chag Matzah, and there are some very important PowerPoints that we have examined to this particular point. One of the great points is that in this instruction we are given, again, this commandment to partake, to consume what is distasteful. And we have learned from that situation that the purpose of that, again, is to come to an understanding that whenever we embrace what is distasteful, we have an opportunity at that point to enter into liberation. I want to, again, cause you to understand that what we're doing at this particular point in space and time is mastering the world of absolute. But when we start to talk about the mastery of the world of absolute, we're talking about the mastery of the speaking world. But you have to relate that to the goal of creation, so that when we begin to speak about those things, we understand that there's going to be something that we are going to do when it comes to speaking that will both create physical immortality and an environment that will support that. So I want to talk about that so that we can, again, get an understanding of what we should be doing. But let me first go to Shemot chapter 12 and read from there. Then we're going to go back to the chart and we're going to bring in some other instructions that will aid us in doing the correct thing. Amen. I think that everyone that is here today are people that have been selected by a Chag to usher in a new season. I want to say that to you. Then I want to talk about this, okay? Again, liberation is the focus. It's the focus. So, what they read into your hearing, that is Rabbi Yehoshua and Rabbi Rabson. I almost called you something else. Y'all gonna have to put up with me today. You know what I'm saying? I'm having one of those moments. But they read to you from Shemot chapter 12, verses 14 and 15, but I want to continue with the reading and pick it up at verse 16. It says, on the first day shall be a holy convocation. On the seventh day shall be a holy convocation for you. No man or no works may be done on them. Amen. And so we're clear that, again, the first day of Chag Matzah, and we began to observe that the day after Pesach. So we have Pesach 1 and 2. Amen. On that first day, we were to continue with a holy convocation. And then on the seventh day, at the end of this, we have another holy convocation, which takes place tonight. So no leaven until this evening. Everybody agree with that? All right, but let's continue to move with this. It says on the first day shall be a holy convocation. On the seventh day shall be a holy convocation for you. Now remember, this is talking about Chag Matzah. Don't make Chag Matzah and Pesach the same day. They're not the same things. That's the problem with that. Some people want to say, well, we didn't eat no, matzah on Pesach, so that's got to be the day. It's not. He said you'll have 7 days, of Chag Matzah. So, you have to understand how this is going. So that's what this is talking about. On the seventh day shall be a holy convocation for you. No work may be done on them, except for what must be eaten for any person. So we can cook. We can cook. We can, you know what I'm saying? We can cook on these days, you know what I'm saying? Of course, today's Shabbat, so you can't do it today because Shabbat Vaynak is going to out trumpets, so you can't cook today. All we're doing is just doing law, y'all, just law. So, get law into your head, so that you understand this. It's very important to catch it. Because you want to be in the timing. It shall be a holy convocation for you. No man or no work may be done on them except for what must be eaten for any person. Only that may be done for you. So again, this is not what was done when we came out of Egypt. Because on Pesach, we came out of Egypt. We didn't have Pesach and then come out of Egypt and then have 7 days of Chag Matzah. This is going to happen later. That's another thing about understanding this, this holiday, because again, we didn't come out like that. We were to eat the Pesach meal, got done with the Pesach meal, man, we had to get out of there. And so just put it together in your head. Put it together in your head. It says no work may be done on them, except for what must be eaten for any person, only that may be done for you. You shall safeguard the matzah. For on this very day I have taken your legions out of the land of Egypt. You shall observe this day for your generations for an eternal decree. So if you remember what really happened, when did we have Pesach? Somewhere around evening. When did we actually leave Egypt? It's something after midnight, so that's on another day. You got to catch how this thing is flowing, you know what I'm saying? And it's on another day now. Okay? Just think about it like that. Just think about it for just a moment. On this very day you have taken legions out of the land of Egypt. You shall observe this day for your generations as an eternal decree. So we don't call, again, the day that we left Egypt. What do we call that day? We call that Pesach. But now what we're talking about right now is Chag Matzah. So we know that we left sometime after midnight, but we could have left it completely on the next day. That's what we're trying to get you to see. Because that's the way that the law is dealing with it. It's not dealing with it as though the days are the same. It's dealing with it a different way. You shall safeguard the matzah on this very day that you have taken the legions out of Egypt. You shall observe this day for your generations as an eternal decree. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, in the evening shall you eat matzah until the 21st day of the month in the evening. And so when they came up with that, they came up with the idea that we got to do this for 8 days. That's where the idea came from. But you got to think about how they came to the idea. But that ain't the focus. That's not the focus. The focus is, again, as we were saying on last night, why this time where we're going to eat for 7 days. Why are we going to eat for 7 days something that is distasteful? And so what we looked at again on yesterday was very important. We looked at this idea up here. So let's go back to the idea. Again, when we think about the human conscious experience, the human conscious experience has within it all of these different worlds. These worlds represent qualities. We have the quality of asiyah within us. That is the quality of being inanimate. I mean, to be hard to change. But being inanimate doesn't just mean to be hard to change. I mean, it means something else. I mean. And what it is that we're still, but we're still to the point that we really ain't exercising any free will. I mean, let me say that one more time. It doesn't just mean that I am obstinate and hard to change, but it also gives me another concept, and that is that I'm totally without free will. Now, of course, we're going to get that from the idea of stillness, but there's another idea about that that we talk about, and that is that whenever we come out of this world and ascend to the next world, that what we actually experience at that particular point is liberation. Liberation. Which means that at this point right here, I'm under oppression. And the oppression that we talk about is Pharaoh's world. Pharaoh's world. That's the oppression that we were under here. We're stoned. We can't move. I mean, we got that type of thing going on. I mean, and of course, you know, we try to make that locations on the planet right now, but that's totally wrong. I mean, that's just something for you to think about. I mean, because when we begin to talk about, again, being still or under Pharaoh's reign, well, let's talk about what Pharaoh's reign is. I mean, what is his oppression? I want you to remember something. Let's go to the book of Bereshit and look at the creation of the worlds itself. And then we'll equate it to ourselves. I mean, what actually happens in order to create something? Because what we said concerning creation, and that is, again, creation is, the world that we live in right now is the creation of the ego. I mean, but I want you to think about, again, what was employed in order to create. Two things, thought and word. Thought and word. I mean, because what you're going to discover, and that is that with every thought, there's a word. I mean. So whenever you get a word, that word always has a thought behind it. I mean, that's why it makes a difference to us as to what name we're going to employ when it comes to, again, talking about the Creator. Why ain't we using El Shaddai? Well, there's some thought behind it, but the thought that's behind it is not going to be relevant to what we're trying to do right now. Why ain't we using Yod Hey Vav Hey? Because the thought that's behind that is not relevant to what we're trying to do right now. Why are we using Ikar? Because the thoughts that are behind that are relevant to what we're trying to do right now. They're relevant. I mean, because every word that you employ doesn't make any difference what it is. Doesn't make any difference what language it is. There's always a thought behind it. And when you begin to understand that, then you're going to begin to see something about creation that's very important. How is it that, again, what took place with us? I mean, in the creation of this world, and it's really Pharaoh's world because it oppresses you. You still in it. I mean, you're still in it. Matter of fact, this veil is all over the planet. I need to say it to you like that. I mean, we haven't come out of it. I mean, when our cousins went to Israel, we We didn't come out of it.
Amen.
We are still in this oppressive state because the oppressive state is the world that we exist in right now. I want you to remember something. The world that we exist in right now is a world that you would describe as a world of contrast. I mean, in it you experience what? Pleasure, pain, light, darkness, good, bad, cold, hot, all over the place. That's where you're staying at right now. I mean, but that world is oppressive to you. I mean, it's Pharaoh's world. But the question is, how did that world come into being? Let's just look at the first chapter in Bereshit and you'll see it. How did this come into being? I mean, if you catch this, then you'll see why some people are just as happy as a lark, especially Can I reverse that thought for just a moment? You know what I'm saying? If you are a person and all you're trying to do right now is try to change the conditions of this world, you ain't going to be happy. Because if you get it to go one way, it's still going to come back here. I mean, because of the way that the world is created, it's a world of contrast. I mean, that's why when we talk to you about this idea of denunciation. I mean, in other words, I'm going to denounce, but when you start to talk about denouncing things, now I'm not talking about denouncing just a few things. I'm talking about denouncing this entire world. But if you denounce the entire world, then you know what has to happen? You have to come up with a new heaven and a new earth. You have to. I mean, if all I'm going to do is war against the world, then everything that I'm going to do is going to be a reaction. And that reaction is just going to create what we already got. Matter of fact, it won't make anything new whatsoever. Let me say it one more time. It won't make anything new whatsoever. All you doing is reacting. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you still reacting to Pharaoh. Pharaoh still got you under control because you still doing in harmony what he has already done. So you got to come out of it. You got to come out of it. And so you have to denounce it. But the problem with denunciation is this. If I denounce this world, then where am I going to go to next? Maybe I should read that, but let me do this first, okay? Maybe I should just read that to you so you can see what's in the forecast. Because if you understand what's in the forecast, you're going to be happy too. I mean, you're going to be real happy. I mean, because I'm telling you, you can't find nothing in this world, I mean, that's tied to pleasure that ain't also tied to suffering. They're all tied together. So when you try to change this world, you ain't doing nothing. Believe me, you're not doing anything. It may seem like it, but you're not doing anything. But let's talk about how things are created first of all, okay? Let's go to chapter 1, verse number 1. I mean, remember, whenever we read this, this is talking about something a lot higher than what we think it's talking about. I mean, so again, what he's going to employ here in order to create the world is what? Thoughts and words. Come on, talk to me, y'all. Ain't nobody here this moment. There ain't no need of being afraid of talking to me. Because you're going to get mighty happy when I get done telling you what I got to tell you. You're going to be real happy. It says, in the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth, when the earth was what? Astonishingly empty, with darkness, upon the face of the surface of the deep, and the divine presence hovered upon the surface of the waters. Oh man, that is so great. That is so great what you just hearing right there. That is so great. I mean, because if you understand this from the root language, you're going to understand something real big. I mean, real big. So, you know, we're looking at something right here now. But again, what two components are we using to create?
Thoughts and words.
One more time.
Thoughts and words.
Thoughts and words. We're going to use thoughts and words. Okay, it says, upon the surface of the waters, God said, what? Let there be light, and what? And there was light, and God saw that the light was what? Good. God separated the light between, the light and the darkness, and then he called it a name.
Yes.
But he said, let there be light. Okay, now, let's look at something. Let's look at what happened. Okay? And now I'm going to equate it to you. Okay? Let me equate it to you. All right. Let's talk about our mind stuff. Our mind stuff is like water.
Yes.
It is. You know, when you start talking about, I'm not talking about the brain now. I'm talking about the mind now.
Yes.
It's like water.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? In other words, this is the way that it works. If I hear a word, then what that does is it goes up my nerves, into my brain, into my mind stuff. And if my mind stuff is calm, then what it does is it causes my mind stuff to ripple, just like water does. Now you learn this in meditation. Meditating on yourself, though.
Yes.
Not just me telling you this. I'm just telling you what happens. You know, remember what we do. We go through all this breathing technique. Why do we do all of that? So that we get the mind to be what? Still. You know what I'm saying? But if you notice, once you utter something, after that mind is still, then the mind ripples. Do you know what the thing about that is? The word is the word. It's the vibration. The rippling is like the meaning. But what happens when the mind gets done rippling like this is it goes still. But when it goes still, something has happened. And what has happened is what we would call knowledge, or it reflects what the word was that was said. Let me let that settle for just a moment. Okay? Because we're looking right at it in creation. That's the first thing that's happening. He speaks over the what? The water. Then you know the water's going to do this. Then when the water gets done rippling, what he spoke was still, but now it's reflected in the water. Can I say it one more time? Because I'm trying to tell you how we create worlds. We really don't understand this right here. Because we just don't follow this thing, and so what we're under is Pharaoh stuff. Pharaoh that did all of this, so we got all these words, and these words, when they're spoken to you externally, or if you speak them internally, it has the same exact effect. What it does is, it's like wind, or it's vibration, blows over your steel pond. Your steel pond does like this. Then when it gets done doing like this, it goes still again. But that ain't the only thing that happened. It also now is reflecting what has been said. I'm going to let those that are deep in Japtai just for a moment. Because the process that I'm talking to you about happens so quick. That, you know what happens, you know what I'm saying? See what I'm saying to you, you might be going, oh man, you're just saying something. But you keep on meditating. That's all you got to do. Keep on meditating, and you'll see exactly what I'm saying, because you'll see that this is how your mind is working. But it's no surprise, because look what's happening right here. And remember, this ain't really talking about what we think it's talking about. Stop. Because what we're saying, again, is what happens? How did we get this world that we got now, this egotistical world, this world of Pharaoh? Irritation came. And then what we did to the irritation is we put enamel around it. But you got to think about how we put enamel around it. With words. Why do you think we're in the world of absolute right now? We're trying to master this. The reason why we're mastering these things at this particular point is is because we ain't just about being physically immortal, but we're also about creating a world that will support that.
Amen. Yes.
Let that sink in for just a moment.
Amen.
That's why you ought not be bothered about anything
Amen.
that's around you right now. You ought to denounce everything.
Amen.
But that's up to you.
Amen.
If you want to just stay in this and continue with the roller coaster ride, fine. But if you want to do what Isaiah said, let's go there.
Amen.
Now I'm going to quit doing this less and less. And the rabbis know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Chapter 65.
Amen.
So I'm trying to get to something right now. Because the world that we have created through the dissension is nothing but, we got pleasure.
Amen.
We sure have a lot of,
So,
all this suffering thing that goes on.
amen.
And you know what? Sooner or later you're going to discover something, and that is that the reason why we was eating matzah was so that we would come out of the world.
There it is.
And that's what we're to be reminded of every generation.
Amen.
Now, come on, I'm going to say something to you that, because you really don't know you. You don't. You think you was this. Body consciousness. You're completely disconnected.
Wow.
From your eternal existence. This is the eternal existence here, but and you can tell. Yes, you can. Let me tell you why you can tell. Because it goes what? Birth, life, death. Then what happens? Birth, life, death. And what happens?
Birth, life,
death. And what happens? And that's continual. Here.
Amen.
You know why? Because it's connected to. And you can continue in this consciousness right here. And in this consciousness right here, you're going to be in Pharaoh's world.
Amen.
So I don't want to be in Pharaoh's world. I done made that up in my mind. I'm sick and tired of it.
Amen.
All right, what about you? Are you sick and tired?
Amen.
Ain't you sick and tired of it?
Amen.
You're sick and tired of being in Pharaoh's world. And it's almost like, well, we really don't have any control over this.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we do.
Let me read.
I'm excited.
In chapter 65, is everybody there?
Amen.
I want to begin at verse number 16. Let me read just a couple of verses here.
Amen.
Then I'll continue with this instruction right here. Because I'm telling you, if you want to get set free, this is where it's at.
Amen.
Now we learned last night, and I'm telling you, that's why I like matzah.
Amen.
I can't make it taste good to me.
Amen.
I can't. I just can't. I don't want it to.
Amen.
I want to be mindful of something.
Amen.
And that is that when darkness and confusion is upon the face of the deep, I need to do something about that.
Amen.
I don't need to make that taste good to me.
Amen.
Don't get mad at me. I'm not saying that.
Amen.
Because we learned that from somebody else, didn't we? Look what we can do with matzah to make it taste good. You know what I'm saying? Well, of course you're going to learn that from somebody that is looking at the branch.
Amen.
And that's all they're looking at. We're going to just make this taste good. And I don't want it to taste good. I want to be mindful of something.
Amen.
And that is that distasteful events require creation.
Amen.
And creation is done with speaking. I ain't talking like some of these other traditions. I'm not there at all. I'm somewhere else, okay? But I'm somewhere, again, where you're going to be thinking to think about something. What two components create?
Thought and word.
One more time. Thought and word. I want this to be stuck in your head.
Amen.
Amen.
Whosoever blesses himself in the land will bless himself by the God of truth. Whosoever takes an oath in the land will take an oath by the God of truth. For the earlier travails will have been forgotten and concealed from our eyes. All these travails, all these distasteful events. But why? For behold, I am creating new heavens and a new earth. Let's go back to the formula for just a moment. Can I go there for just a moment? Now wait a minute, let me stop now, because I think we've learned this already. We are what with Chag?
One.
So when he says, I am creating,
New heaven, new earth. I can't say it. New heaven, new earth.
come on, I see everything falling apart.
Earth.
I see it, you know what I'm saying? And it could be disturbing. I could be going, oh my God, what am I going to do next? I doesn't have enough money.
Don't need
Nobody's going to send
it.
me
Don't need it.
a Messiah. Nothing is going to happen. What am I going to do next? It's trying to cause you to discover who you are and that you have complete
control.
As a matter of fact, I don't want to do anything that's against this, because these former things, I've got to denounce it. One more time. I've got to denounce it. For behold, I am creating a new heavens and a new earth. The former, see, they put the word events here. It's in these brackets.
Yeah.
So you know what that means? It ain't a part
Yeah, it ain't part of this.
of the original translation. Well, why do you think that they put it there? I'm not even going to say nothing because I'm on camera. I'll let y'all see it. But watch this, watch it. The former will no longer be recalled and will not be taken to heart. Pharaoh's world, gone to, wait a minute, the world of contrast, gone.
Yeah.
The world of pleasure and suffering,
Gone.
gone.
Amen.
The world